Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I thank God for another day. Once again, we have an opportunity to walk with God in faith, trusting Him, knowing that He loves us and He cares for us, and that He only wants good for us. I thank God for His love, His mercy, and His grace. This morning's daily devotional is titled Noah's Faithfulness to God. It's in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 12 through 22. It says, "And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of everything of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth shall his kind, 2 of every sort shall come into thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he." Noah listened to God, even though it seemed really crazy that God was doing such a great and destructive thing. Noah trusted God and obeyed him. He was faithful. We must be faithful to God when he speaks to our spirit. We must listen and obey. That's faithfulness, obedience. All right, section 2, Daniel's courage, Daniel 6:10. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. The king signed the law. Therefore, Daniel was faced with a life or death decision. He could refrain from praying during the 30-day period in which the law would be enforced, or he could continue his habit of daily prayer and risk being thrown to the lions. Unlike the story in chapter 1, where Daniel and his friends discussed the king's threats, the narrative in chapter 6 does not reveal Daniel's thoughts nor his feelings regarding the law and its consequences. Apparently, his feelings are not the point of the story. Rather, his faithful actions are the focus. Daniel responded to the law by continuing his daily prayers. Daniel could have prayed in secret, hoping he would avoid detection. Instead, he continued his routine, opening his window towards Jerusalem and praying openly. Apparently, he was aware of his enemy's scheme and chose to maintain his integrity even if it resulted in death. It is significant that Daniel not only prayed, but he gave thanks to God as well. Even in a time of persecution and danger, Daniel was thankful. Daniel prayed facing Jerusalem, toward where the temple had once stood. Perhaps Daniel remembered the word God spoke to King Solomon regarding the temple. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to prayer made in this place. For now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart will be there perpetually. And that's in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 15 and 16. There's an insert here titled Kendra's Commitment. It says, when Kendra was a teenager, she went to work at a restaurant with the agreement that she would never have to work on Sunday. However, when Mother's Day came around, she found her name on the schedule to work. When she reminded the manager of the agreement that she would not work on Sundays, she was fired. Nevertheless, after 2 weeks, the manager realized she had made a terrible mistake. She asked Kendra to return to work. Kendra responded, "Yes, I will return, but I will not work on Sunday." And she never did. It was written by Lee Roy Martin. All right, section 2b, Daniel's punishment. Daniel 6, verses 11 through 18. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed the decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting, neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Daniel's enemies arrived at his house to spy on him, and they heard his prayers. Daniel's prayer is described as a supplication, which means a prayer for God's grace, mercy, and help. There are three main parties at work in Daniel 6. First is Daniel, a man of integrity and faithfulness, described as being without fault. Even on close examination, none can find any reason to accuse him. Therefore, he was entrapped and then punished for being a righteous person. He was suffering for righteousness' sake. See 1 Peter 3:14. Although his enemies tried to destroy him, God delivered him. The second party might be described as Daniel's colleagues, who became his enemies. They were determined to get rid of Daniel, even though he was an innocent and honorable man. What causes people to treat an innocent person as they treated Daniel? The third party is King Darius, who was manipulated into playing a role in the unjust treatment of Daniel. The accusers brought their charges against Daniel to Darius, who was distressed that he had allowed himself to be tricked by Daniel's enemies. He knew Daniel had been entrapped unjustly. Therefore, the king attempted to save him. Each of these parties faced choices that reminds us of our own situations. How should we respond when one of our colleagues is promoted and we are tempted to be envious? How should we respond if we are the innocent party who is being mistreated? What is the Christian response to abuse and persecution? How should we react when other people attempt to include us in their schemes of manipulation? How do we deal with jealous, envious, dishonest, and immoral people? The men who brought charges against Daniel reminded the king that he could not avoid punishing Daniel. The law was irrevocable. See Daniel 6, verses 12 and 15. Therefore, the king had no choice but to throw Daniel to the lions. However, Darius encouraged Daniel, and he apparently trusted in God to save him from the lions. Darius' response was quite different from that of Nebuchadnezzar. The lion's den was sealed with official seal to ensure Daniel could not escape. We should not overlook the fact that King Darius was deeply troubled by the situation and even fasted and prayed through a sleepless night. This shows that even unbelievers have a conscience. Sometimes in life we face persecution. We're innocent. We have done nothing to deserve what these people are putting forth toward us. It could be jealousy, envy, hatred. Who knows why these people feel the way they feel and act the way they act? But God is faithful when we are faithful to deliver us from persecution, from unjust attacks. God is our protector. He cares for us, and he transforms all evil into good for us and to bring glory to his name, because he's a good, mighty God. No one is above him. And when we love him and we are called his children, we have divine protection against all evil in this world and in the world above. I thank God for his love, his protection, his mercy, his grace. I thank God for loving me and caring for me and being so wonderfully gracious in the way that he directs my life. I thank him. He's such a good God. Thank you for your time this morning. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. God bless you.